Welcome back to Chapter 7 of the Thanksgiving Treasure. By the time Thanksgiving Day arrived, I was beginning to get very nervous. Carla May had refused to steal food, so I would have to swipe a whole dinner for Rehnquist right out from under my family's noses. I was prepared to wear my jeans to dinner, figuring that any food I could drag into my lap would be a bonus. Since I kept my jeans in generally grubby condition, nobody would notice any spills on them. Grandma, however, announced that Thanksgiving was a dress-up occasion, and I was forced to wear a dress. I searched frantically through my closet for a dress with pockets big enough to hold a chunk of turkey wrapped in a napkin, but I had none, so I would have to be very careful. I promised Grandma I would do all the cleanup and serve the dessert, which surprised her, since I usually hated doing that job. However, I knew it would give me a good chance at completing my list of food. Early in the afternoon, Uncle Will, Aunt Nora, and little Henry arrived. Little Henry was poison as far as I was concerned, but I knew I had to be nice to him for the afternoon. He and I never did get along very well. He was only 8 and very spoiled. He cried whenever he didn't get what he wanted, and he was a terrible sissy. He was short and blond and had a pouty little face and whiny voice. I couldn't stand him. He had on a new suit, and everybody but me made a fuss over it. Aunt Nora was okay, but she was a big, buxom woman and was always hugging and squeezing and pinching cheeks, which drove me crazy. I never knew what to do when somebody pounced on me that way, and it embarrassed me. I also knew, though, that it would have hurt her feelings if I shied away from her affection, so I always stood like a slightly uncomfortable statue while she gave me lots of hugs and kisses. "My, you're growing an inch a day," she said, which only embarrassed me more. "You're going to be a long drink of water when you grow up." Uncle Will, who was my favorite, put his arm around my shoulder and changed the subject to how I was doing in school. He always had a sense of when people were hurt or uncomfortable, and that was probably what made him such a good doctor. He was the quiet type when Aunt Nora was around because she talked so much, but when you got him alone, he was good company. We all gathered in the living room, and Grandma and Nora made frequent trips to the kitchen to see how the turkey was doing. The kitchen was too small to hold all 6 of us for dinner, so we had set up the table in the dining room and put an extra leaf and put on the good tablecloth and the good china and the good silver. While we waited for the turkey, I took up a place at my usual end of the sofa and proceeded to wield the nutcracker for everyone who wanted nuts. Henry wanted to crack his own, and I finally gave in. He made a mess, though, and I had to take the nutcracker away from him again and take charge, making sure that he didn't get any more nuts than absolutely necessary. He looked very pouty until dinner time, but I couldn't bother being annoyed with him. I kept thinking of my approaching challenge. By the time dinner was ready, I was so nervous I could hardly bend my knees to get into my chair. I sat stiffly at attention, never slouching or putting my elbows on the table so Dad would have no reason to look over at me. I passed everything before it was asked for, and I was especially thankful Aunt Nora was there. She talked non-stop, so there was never a lull in the conversation, and I had a better chance of getting things off my plate and into my lap without anybody hearing a big plop. First, I slid a piece of turkey into my lap while Uncle Will was busy telling Grandma how good the dressing was. I was just about ready to make the same move with half an acorn squash when I realized that my little cousin Henry was watching me from across the table. I froze and then nonchalantly pretended to be interested in my creamed onions. I hadn't counted on Henry being a spy, but he looked like he was about to tell on me. He kept bragging about his new suit at the table, and I made faces at him to show how ugly I thought it was. I sneaked a corn muffin out of the basket when Dad looked away, and Henry saw that too. He started to look under the table to see what I was doing with all that food, but I gave him a swift kick and he stopped. I had just about everything that I could hide in my napkin by the time dinner ended, and I managed to get up from the table in a hunched position that hid it from view. "What's the matter?" asked my father. "You got a stomach ache?" And here's the picture of Henry and Addie at the dinner table. No," I said, hurrying toward the kitchen. "I'm just in a hurry to clear the table." Rotten little cousin Henry was right behind me and insisted on helping. He followed me out to the kitchen, and he hung his precious new suit jacket on a hook by the door so he wouldn't get it dirty. What are you doing with that food?" he asked, as he saw me putting what I had swiped into wax paper and glass jars. "What food?" "I saw what you were doing," he said. "If you saw me, what are you asking me for, you little pest?" I went in to get more food off the table, and he followed, helping carry out some of the dishes. When we were back in the kitchen, he continued to watch me, standing there with the gravy boat in his hands. "Why are you stealing all that food?" he asked. "Why can't you just ask Grandmother for it? Why can't you just shut up?" And as I moved away from the sink, we bumped each other, and he spilled all that gravy on the floor. I was furious. "Damn it," I said. "Why don't you watch what you're doing?" "Don't swear at me," he whined, "or I'll tell my mother." "Stupid little dodo," I said. "I need that gravy. Call me one more name, and I'll tell that you're stealing food. I dare you," I said. "How would you like a fat lip?" He ran to the door. "Mama," he called. "Henry?" I hissed. "Come here a minute." He came back. "I've thought it over," I said. "Instead of a fat lip, I'd rather give you three black eyes." "Well, you can't," he said, looking at me smugly, "so what will you give me?" The little rat was blackmailing me. "What do you want?" I asked. "That raccoon tail on your bike." "Fat chance," I exploded. "That cost me 8 weeks' allowance." "That's what I want." "Absolutely not." "Mama," he started to call again. "Hold it," I said quickly. "I'll give you the streamers off my handlebars." "Nope. I want the raccoon tail." "What about my collection of Aggies?" "Nope." I didn't answer while I tried to figure a way out of it. "Yes or no," he said. He moved toward the door when I still didn't answer. "Okay," I said. "You win, Judas." He went back into the living room then, and I heard him tell his mother that I was going to give him my raccoon tail. She thought that was so nice of me and told Grandma it was lovely the way Henry and I got along with each other. It really burned me up, and while they were talking, I went over to Henry's precious new jacket and carefully stuffed his pockets with mashed potatoes. It served him right. I got through dessert, swiped a couple of pieces of pie in the kitchen, and met Carla May outside. "Gad," she said, "I thought I'd never get out of there. We had a million dishes to do." "That's easier than stealing a whole dinner right off the table," I said. "Let's get going and get it over with," she said nervously. "I can't stay out too long. It's getting late." "That's okay," I said straight-faced. "It won't take him long to shoot us." Carla May gave me a stricken look, then glared at me. "Very funny," she said, and lurched off down the driveway on her bike. "Oh, come on. I was just kidding. He won't shoot us if we go right up to the front door and knock like regular people. Everything will be okay. We'll just tell him we brought him Thanksgiving dinner like the Pilgrims and the Indians." "Yeah, sure," she said glumly. That's what it'll say in the obituary column tomorrow."